Welcome back, and it is time to get our interview segment. And today we're talking about a devolved function, sports. The policy level of sport is in the custody of the national government. There are various bodies that deal with that. When it comes to anti-doping, there's the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya. When it comes to the registration of federations and the management of such institutions, there is a Sport Act that deals with that, the support of the national teams, and also the policy and the think tank, the Kenya Academy of Sport. But when it comes to so many things, it all comes down to the county governments. Remember that there are so many stadiums that we knew as municipal stadiums. And in 2013, when there was that transition from the local government to the county governments, all former municipal stadiums were taken over by the county governments. That's just a little bit of it. What about the management of that and the incentives that come for sport? We'll be talking about that. But what's the genesis of that? Because last month we had the Kenya Inter-County Sports, and then after that, the County Assembly Sports. And people asked, what exactly is happening? It sounded crazy. So you have Mombasa County against Kakamega County in volleyball, and then later you've got the county assembly members from Kakamega and Mombasa playing a game of volleyball. So what exactly was happening? We'll get that cleared up, and the role of the counties in ensuring that the devolved function that is sport really does work. And to do that, I've got the chairman of the County Assembly Sports Association. He is Peter Imwatok. He is a representative of the Kaloleni ward at the Nairobi County Assembly. Welcome.
Thank you.
Mr. Peter.
Thank you, brother.
Well, forgive me if I just get a little bit informal question and call you Peter. But first of all, let's clear this.
Yes.
The inter-county games that were in Kisii County.
Yep.
And the county assembly games that were in Kasarani.
Exactly.
Where do we draw the separation between the two?
First of all, let me clarify this. I'm a member of Makongeni ward.
Yes.
Makongeni encompasses Makongeni, Kaloleni, and Botela.
Yes.
Those are 3 wards before, and now amalgamated to 1 ward.
Yes.
Called Makongeni ward.
You know why I said Kaloleni? Because that's where we go for all our handball games.
I know. I know. It's the best team. Comes from Kaloleni handball. Let me clarify this. Before devolution came into place, there were Kinska games, which were coordinated between the councillors and the city councils and municipal councils then. And you understand, then there was no separation of powers, because the same thing the councillors used to do, the same thing the council staffs could do. When we came into devolution 2013, there was separation of powers, that there are two arms in the national county government.
Two levels of government.
government.
There are 3 arms, let's them call the 2 levels.
2 levels of government.
And the devolved.
Executive and the legislature in the county assemblies. And looking at this, we began the games in 2013 called Kikoska CASA Games. CASA did not exist today. It began way back about 6 years ago. We used to coordinate games between Kikoska and CASA. I was a co-chair of Kikoska CASA Games. And then we realized
6 years ago, it was the Kenya Inter-Municipal.
Kenya Inter-County Governments.
Yeah, that was from 2013. That
2013,
was 5 years.
5 years ago. And then CASA. It was Kikoska CASA Games. So we realized after each year, we need to do an oversight role when it comes to expenditure from the county executive side. It was so difficult to do this because separation of power and vestige, you're not part of what was happening on the other side. For you to be able to do what? To legislate and also to make informed decision whether there was prudent finance management in all these aspects of operations in this executive side. So coming last year, the last games were in Machakos, and the same was raised by several speakers, several clerks. They could not get how they operate in terms of financial accountability between games coordinated, executive and legislature on the same. And more importantly, the legislative arm as a role to make sure there's a checks and balance in the executive side. And we said, instead of going the same way, same issues, same challenges, and then every financial year doing the auditor's report. Imagine you're in a public accounts committee and a report comes on the expenditure on sports. You cannot audit them.
So here it is.
Yes.
So where do the county games and the county assembly game, where did you draw the line between the 2 events?
We drew the line, like this year we said, we had a meeting, we said, no, it's prudent for us to do, because we are legislatures. Number one of the functions or devolved function is sports and culture. And we said most of the legislatures or not, those who are not sportsmen, they might not understand what it means to do a bill concerning culture in their respective county assemblies.
I just want this clear. Whatever happened in Kisii and what happened in CASA.
Those are two different things.
Those are two different things.
Two different things.
At what point were they separated? So which one belongs to the executive?
The KOSCA belongs to executive.
The inter-county games.
Inter-county games.
Then this other one...
It's called inter-county game because primarily it's for executive.
It's for the executive?
Yeah.
And the people who are employees?
Employees of the county governments only.
And the county assembly?
Employees of the county assemblies and the MCS.
And the MCS?
Yes.
So how do you... I mean, looking at it, this is one big family, so...
I've just told you, when it comes to making laws, the legislative does not do the laws. We make the laws. They implement the laws we make. The essence of making CASA practical is we wanted to, when we discuss about legislative, do our MCS understand and the clerks of the county assemblies, for instance, the rule of football, do they have the knowledge about it?
That's for referees. I mean, you play football.
No. We need to make a law. You cannot make a law when you talk about, like, let me take an example of Nairobi. Nairobi have 85 wards.
Yes.
Instant, we need handball, a modern handball stadium in Kaloleni. We need out of 85 wards, depending on the enthusiasm of the areas. How do you make these laws on football? You cannot just say I'm making a laws on football. Some people just come and see, they don't know what football about. But you see, like when we had Kasarani games, everybody knew these are the rules of football. Every legislature knew badminton. This is the rule of badminton game. So everyone was interested to know, hey, how do you play hockey? How do you play tennis? So it was something leaders were there to witness and also be part of it.
So already, okay.
Initially it was, honestly, initially it was, the legislature could go there just for purpose of per diem, just to go and watch as the staffs are playing. But now this one primarily was...
That was in Kisii?
That was in Kisii. If we were to go to Kisii as legislatures, we're just going there because our staffs are playing, you know, that's period complex. Staffs are playing, so we don't need to play. So but now they are part of them.
So in Kasarani, now let's start with this.
Yes.
In your ward, Makongeni ward, that's where currently, I mean, you looked at our handball story, which was in the bulletin.
Powerful.
Now, here's the thing. Handball is not an outdoor sport.
Exactly.
It is an indoor sport.
Exactly.
So, for example, from your experiences, what is it that needs to be done to ensure that, number one, we get the right facilities at county level, because that's where it starts. The Swahili word for it is mashinani.
Number one, as a function which has evolved function, we've always insisted, like Nairobi County, you're saying, we cannot continue developing new stadiums while the old stadium, like City Stadium, like the handball pitch from, happy for my former MP who did something for Kaloleni, cutters of my relationship with him. We say there are those stadiums. When you go to Shaurmoyo, there's a handball pitch there. We need to modernize that first before going to the new ones, so that we have where we start before moving to the next level. Because when you look at Nairobi as a population, most young people, look at Kaloleni Social Hall, where all the boxers came in this country, all the taekwondo came in. It's now dilapidated. We must first start with making sure the ones we had make sense before trying to make sense out of what we don't have.
So here it comes for you. Every budget that has to be passed by a county assembly has to go, I mean, by any county. I mean, the executive, the governor and the executive. For example, you're in Nairobi, Governor Sonko will sit down with his executive and present it to the county assembly, and you'll debate it. What is it that you need to do? Because, for example, I can talk about the City Stadium. It's historic. That was Kenya's home ground until, say, 1983.
90s, yeah.
Until 1983, when the Nyayo National Stadium was built, and then Kasarani later in 87. But that was Kenya's home ground. What is it that, for example, you need to do about the City Stadium?
City Stadium has had its own challenges from the previous administration with Dr. Kidero. I remember we had, I'm the area MC of the City Stadium. We had a meeting with Super Sports and DSTV, who came and said they wanted to be partnership to modernize this stadium. Unfortunately, it reached a point they could not agree with the county government. I don't understand what happened. And then Super Sports came. Sports came when the law on the VAT and all this taxation on betting came. They could not.
That's not Super Sport. You're talking about another farm.
Sportpesa, sorry. Sportpesa. Sportpesa, sorry. Sportpesa came. Super Sport came first. They could not agree on terms and conditions with the county government. But we went into the president of Super Stadium. And then it came now Sportpesa. Sportpesa came in when the taxation was taken high by the national government. It could not take over the project for City Stadium. But I've insisted as a area MCA that in this financial year, we've allocated almost 700 million worth of budget in stadiums. And I've always insisted that the governor of Nairobi and his executive member in charge of sports and the Committee of Culture and Sports must prioritize City Stadium as a priority.
Okay, so let's take a look at this. City Stadium, that's the one ground that needs to be done. What do you need to do at the City Stadium? Because the playing surface needs to be redone. Let's start with that. Facilities.
Let me tell you one thing. The entire plan for City Stadium is ready. A new overhaul of City Stadium, including a bunker parking, the entire place. There's a guy who grabbed City Stadium on the other end. He put that place as a workstation when he was doing that bridge at Lusaka Road. And then all of a sudden it became his home. So we went there and told him, my friend, move. We need to expand City Stadium. On the other side of Kaloleni, there are makeshift which were there. We've given notice to be demolished so City Stadium can be expanded. The market along Jogo Road, we agreed with the market guys. We had a meeting, several meetings with the market guys. Said, no, this is a City Stadium. We cannot allow us a market within the City Stadium. We are going to relocate you to the far end so that the City Stadium can be large enough for the
Let me
stadium.
move to another sport, basketball. Nairobi has a great history of basketball. Where do you do that? And the policy to initiate and deliver that.
Now you get the meaning of what I say, that without this legislature understanding, there are several types of games. Let me tell you one thing. I've been playing football the rest of my life. But for the first time as the chair of CASA, I went to a badminton hall. I realized, hey, there's another game called badminton. And there were young people supporting, the old supporting. I went for a pool hall in Kasarani. There are more than 2,000 people playing pool. It means there are some sports you're forgetting as you consider the few sports. Handball, football, but there are more sports in this country.
Volleyball?
Volleyball is there. Makongeni, if you see Bahati is a pioneer of volleyball. I was in Isili High School. I think we are the best champions ever in Nairobi. When I was a volleyball in Isili, and Kinakuria and Duncan, we took 3 championships in high school because we had powerful volleyball from Bahati. But what have we done in that Bahati stadium? Nothing so far.
And this is why I'm asking. When you're putting together this, and I'll refer to a story that came through on Tuesday. Mombasa Governor, Ali Hassan Joho said he's going to put up a stadium, rebuild. He's done Wanja Wambuzi, he's done another one, but he said, no, wait. We need a real stadium here with facilities that can meet up, that are up to standard. For you, if you're going to do this, number one, everyone complains, we need the facilities. Then?
Let's understand one thing here. Nairobi also is unique in its own circumstances. Nairobi is a capital city. Assume today we want to host the World Cup. I believe Nairobi is a town where the finals of the World Cup can be held. Yeah. The national government cannot ignore Nairobi in terms of studies, in some or other sports, indoor games and everything. The national government must also chip through the Minister for Sports that this is a capital city. We cannot afford to have Mombasa having the best studies ever compared to the capital city, honestly.
So then comes another thing. Once these facilities are there, you need to engage the youth. I know at political level you have to engage the youth when you need the vote. Let me tell you. How do you engage the youth in these areas to ensure that, number one, they're making the right use of these facilities and they're constantly participating?
Let me give you an example. Like Majimbo Ground, where Black Mamba used to play. You have heard on the news say MCA Makongeni grabbed Majimbo Ground. I went and fenced it, Majimbo Ground, because there were 2 grounds. One of it was taken off. It has now flats. Then I fenced the other one. The essence of me fencing, I said, after fencing, securing this ground, number one, I need to do a borehole there. Okay? In Makongeni ward, my ward, I have about 5 grounds. Okay?
So which sports?
Football, handball, volleyball, netball. You go to Makongeni's main stadium, Makongeni grounds, evening, there's volleyball everywhere. People are playing.
So, the question is, how do you engage the youth? Because that making use of that, having a facility is one thing. Take an example of Camp Toyoyo. How has Camp Toyoyo impacted the lives of young people in Jericho? There are those who are employed there, okay? There are those who come there every morning to nurture their talents. The most important thing of any stadium, of any facility for sports, is to nurture talent. If you go to Amsterdam, Rotterdam City, even in the street you find small grounds. People are playing, including big people. And that brings another issue, because now you're at the county assembly, everyone's been saying, like they say in Nairobi, Graoili Lienda. Now, what happens to reclaim some of these places and the playing, engage people from as young as 6?
That's what we are saying. We want to be factual. When you say Kwamba Nairobi as grounds has been grabbed, how many have we reclaimed? We don't want this issue of PR just to be seen. We are trying to reclaim this. Behind the scene, you don't know what happens. You never see anyone being prosecuted. People just come and say, oh, I was one of them who built the Rose Reserve. I was one of them who grabbed this. Now I'm safe. I'm a saint. No, we need to see people prosecuted for impunity. Honestly.
All right. Now, outside of the political thing, I'm sticking to the sport end of it.
Of course.
So
that's part of it.
Because
most of these are being done by politicians.
No, we want to see the youth there, and we want to see the activity. What are you doing to see so that, I mean, for example, if Nairobi, they say, even in Kenya, they say if Nairobi catches a cold, the entire country is bedridden.
That's what you're saying.
Where do you engage these people here?
The only place we can engage the youth, number one, the county government must come up with policies. In all 85, I'm not a policymaker. I'm a lawmaker.
A lawmaker.
The policy has to be driven from the executive. They are the owners of ideas. They come with those raw ideas to us. We impart subject to the public participation, which involves the youth. That what do you need in Makongeni? We need Kanonapolo ground to be done. We need Makongeni grounds to be done. We need Majimbo ground to be done. After that, how do you operationalize this?
All right.
As society.
And now, you've spoken much about Nairobi, but as a chair of the County Assembly Sports Association, what conversations are you doing, for example, so that, think of this, so that in Eldoret, athletics can grow. In Bungoma, Kakamega, volleyball and football can grow. In Nyeri County, volleyball can grow.
That's the difference now between Kikoska, Inter-County Forum for Sports, and CASA. Because us as CASA, we are saying we have cluster games. From next year, rolling up cluster events.
Okay,
cluster events
what's
means
cluster event?
Cluster events. We've subdivided this country into 8 clusters. But the Rift Valley region has the sports they invested so much, like athletics. There's a given month we are organizing athletics for, so that the legislature can meet with the residents. It's called legislative devolve to the community. We are going to Northeastern. Do you have ngamias running? Is it a culture there?
So we have a camel derby.
That's what we want to do. We are going to Mount Kenya, netball, volleyball, handball. We want to do those clusters in Nyeri. All the county assemblies around that Mount Kenya region, they come there. They amalgamate with the area residents. Best teams in volleyball, best team in netball. We see how can legislative arm of those areas can learn something about sports. When they go to their assemblies, they can learn something and legislate on it.
Now, the other thing is Kakamega County hosted the trials for the amputee football team. What are you doing for the disabled people?
Yes, indeed. For the first edition of CASA, we had a hitch about the disabled, and we incorporated at the late minutes. But we are saying next time we had a tricycle game alone for the first time the first inaugural edition. But we are looking forward to.
Which particular sport for the tricycle?
They were men. They were men.
All right. Which event? It was
a race. Yeah. So we are looking forward to incorporate all the sport, the javelin, the shot put. They came and said, no, we are disabled, but you see, these are things we can do. Don't judge us the way we are. So we say, wow, maybe we in a way, we had forgotten that disability is not an ability. So we are saying, here we are. In our committee of CASA, we have 2 members with disabilities representing the disabled in this committee. So we are geared forward. Next year, we are hosting. Before that, we'll do clusters across the country. We'll mobilize the disabled, women, youth, across the county.
All right, this is what I'm going to do as we come to a close. I know we've got 47 devolved, but we still think in terms of provinces. I mean, it still is kind of a hangover. So, let me just think of this. The coast.
Yep.
What's your cluster for the coast? What are the sports?
The coast cluster is mostly culture, because when we talk about CASA, we don't concentrate. No, we have different cultures, the Digo culture, the Giriama culture, we have the Costidians, the coast culture, the regional coast culture.
Swimming?
Swimming is also part of our sport. That's what we're saying. When we go to Mombasa, we want the indigenous counties themselves, assemblies, to tell us what kind of sports can we do in clusters before we do a Campori.
Northeastern?
Northeastern, there are several games. You can camel riding, everything you can do there.
Upper Eastern?
They'll tell us when we go to the assemblies.
All right. Lower Eastern?
Let me tell you, last time in Kasarani, out of 47 assemblies, 43 assemblies attended the events. And they participated in all the games. There's football in Northeastern.
Very good.
There's volleyball in Northeastern.
Okay, Nairobi. What's the cluster for Nairobi?
Cluster Nairobi is cluster Nairobi and Northeastern.
All right.
It's one cluster.
It's one cluster?
Yep.
So what are the sports for Nairobi?
Nairobi is vast, man.
Okay, mention 3 sports.
The major sports is football, netball, volleyball.
Central is mentioned is volleyball and handball.
Yes.
What about Rift Valley?
Athletics mostly in Rift Valley.
Yeah.
If you see all the medals for athletics in Kasarani were taken by Washingishu, Kericho. Yeah.
All right. That reads normal. Western
mostly football
competition.
We do food competition for the Western Province.
No way.
We do football.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
No.
we understand.
No. Okay.
It's a culture.
Okay, I didn't hear the first one.
It's just a culture.
I don't want to get into that. I'm politically correct here.
We do all those because
right.
it's our culture.
Right,
I come
Nyanza.
from Western. Nyanza football is primarily there in Nyanza, and also a bit of athletics and also cultural dances, traditional dances, yeah.
So, you've had it from Peter Imwatok. He's a
But more importantly,
yes,
let's advise all the county governments to copy what the governor of Mombasa is doing. That sports is essential assets to the young generation. So every county government to, at least in every year, to make sure they have finished 2 stadiums, indoor stadiums, anything that the youth require. Because if we have the youth engaged in sports, it means crime will go down. It means when somebody has played well, he sweat, he goes to take a shower, he goes to books if he's in school, the head is fresh, he can get better in class.
All right, there you've had it from Peter Imwatok. He's the chair of the County Assembly Sports Association. He represents Makongeni Ward in Nairobi County, and you can hear he's passionate about it. And the challenge is to the 47 governors in the country, set up stadia everywhere. Make sure that whatever you have becomes, better and is in the right shape. I am Daniel Wahome. Thank you for being with us. And you know what? We've had a great bulletin. We've had a great day. And tomorrow, more will be in our bulletins. And remember, like I told you, we will take a look at the IAAF Continental Cup. Will Team Africa get more points? 74, not looking good. But that's it from us. Have a good evening. And on behalf of our sign language interpreter, Lucy Maura, I tell you, have a good evening.